Hello, Jason Virtue here from Landlife Education. Thanks for tuning in. The topic of my blog today is Pasture Dieback. Now, for those people that are not involved in the beef industry in Queensland, I'll share with you what pasture dieback is. Pasture dieback is a circumstance where, for apparently no good reason whatsoever, large swaths of a pasture that's used for beef production or animal production simply dies. It turns brown, it stops growing, and beef producers and animal producers lose productivity from that section of their land. And when I say sections or swaths of grassland, in some cases I'm talking very, very large areas. But some producers within Queensland are losing, in some cases, many hundreds of acres of land that is affected by pasture dieback. So this is a really, really big problem, simply because if you're engaged in the business of growing plants and feeding them to livestock, anything that limits your ability to maximise the amount of plant material that you grow on your farm is a really big deal. There has been representation made to Meat and Livestock Australia and the Department of Primary Industries, or DAF as they're called in Queensland, to find out what is going on and what's causing dieback. And to their credit, those two organisations are saying that they're going to start doing some research and to run some trials and investigate what the problem is, in the hope that we can come up with an answer that will help people reduce or remove the problem of dieback on their properties. And this is wonderful news. And I know the folks at the DPI and at MLA that are going to conduct these trials are going to work tirelessly to find a solution to this problem. Unfortunately, through no fault of their own, this is going to take quite a long time. In some instances it could be 12 months, it could even be 2 years before we can come up with what is actually causing dieback and then come up with a solution. I'm going to share with you today what my observations of dieback are, and I'll share with you my humble thoughts about what is causing dieback and what you can do about it to remedy the situation in your business. I have to share with you that I am not a soil scientist, I'm not a pasture scientist, I'm not an animal scientist. I have got over 25 years of operating a small beef enterprise here in Queensland, so I am very, very aware of the vagrancies of seasons and how they can affect yours and my ability to keep a business going and to make a profit. And I'm very well aware of the circumstance of fluctuating beef prices, how that can hamper our ability to keep the business going and to make a profit year in and year out. So when something like pasture dieback comes along that inhibits beef producers' ability to keep the business on the road, it's a very, very big deal. And that's why it's very, very important that we examine all of the options available to us and all the possibilities of how we can fix this problem so that we can keep our enterprises going. So from what I'm seeing in the country life and also on social media about the places and the pasture situations where dieback is occurring, the anecdotal evidence is that it is occurring where there are a monoculture of species. When we look around the world at how Mother Nature functions, monocultures are not a natural phenomena. They're a situation that humans have created in an attempt to increase the productivity of an enterprise. I'm hearing stories that monocultures of bluegrass and indeed monocultures of buffel grass are the ones that are being affected by dieback. And the fact that there is a monoculture there is part of what I think is the problem. What I believe is causing dieback is that there has been such a reduction in the diversity of plants and animals in a landscape that it is changing the chemical makeup and the biological activity that's going on in the soil. And because there is now a reduction in the soil organisms that are there that lead to a biologically active soil and a soil that is really high in soil life, we're creating a circumstance where unfavourable things, problem organisms move in. I'm not sure if dieback is caused by a phytophthora or a nematode or a soil bug or a fungus or something that's blown in on the west wind. I really don't know. But the fact that we're seeing it occur in monocultures, I'm prepared to suggest that the health and the vigour of the soil where the dieback is occurring is part of the problem. So how can we fix that? Well, there's many things that you and I as landholders can do to change the health and the biological capacity of our soils. We could fertilise them, we could plough them up and plant them with new species, we could buy some chemicals and try and kill what's going on in the soil, or indeed use some chemical fertiliser to give the soil a hit. And that's all fine and good. Some of those solutions, or those probable solutions, will cost money that you may or may not have. And the fact of the matter is, most of them are simply a band-aid. The root cause of the problem of pasture dieback is the way that farmers and land managers have been managing their landscapes for many, many decades, and indeed well over 100 years. Since white people first came to Queensland and started farming the landscape, we've traded off the natural capital that was there in the soil. And our practices, whilst they're good in some respects and they have kept us in business for a very, very long period of time, we've simply used up a lot of the naturally occurring biological capital that is out there in the landscape. And I suggest to you that the places where we're seeing dieback, it's simply a result that we've used up most of the health and the vitality and the biological capital and the biological life that is in our soils, and consequently we've created an environment where these problem organisms really like it. In those places where there is dieback, it's pretty evident that dieback likes being there. Hence it's moved in and it's taken hold in those pasture situations. That the only option available if you are at the effect of dieback in your pasture, you are going to have to change your management practices. Ploughing and planting, or adding some fertiliser, or deep ripping, or planting a new species is not going to cut it. It is simply a short-term fix. The way you as a farmer manage the natural resources that you have is the key to overcoming dieback and preventing it spreading or becoming worse, or indeed preventing something else coming along in the future that's going to cause you to lose productivity. Now, I simply don't have time in the blog today to share with you in explicit detail how you should go about changing the management of the landscape on your property. If there's any of the topics that I've raised today in my blog are a concern for you, I would be very, very happy to engage with you and have a private, confidential discussion about some of the ideas I have on how you can improve what's going on the soil on your farm. All of the discussions that I have with rural-based business people are private and confidential, and we do not share your details with anyone. I can be reached either by telephone or email. At Landlife Education, I offer everybody a positive choice for change. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.